This morning I thought I'd take a couple of minutes. I've had a few people ask me about raspberries. Hey, I've never grown raspberries before. I don't know how to do them. What's the process? How does it work? So I thought I'd take just a few minutes and show you a little bit about first year canes, second year canes. I don't have any third year canes. I think if I prune those off, but I'll show you a little bit about how it all works. So you can see these are our raspberry bushes. We have them kind of planted out here in a row down a fence line. Works really well for us. Kind of keeps them contained. They have a little rock wall, by the way, that doesn't always keep them out. But we have all of our raspberries here, and then a couple of other plots that we have as well. And we've got some blackberries and a few blueberries mixed in here as well. But here's what happens. Let's see if I can find one. There's a few blossoms that are still on here. So right here, this is a blossom that's still, a couple of blossoms that are in their early stages. And you can see from the inside here, you can see here that the flower comes first, just like any fruit. And then after the flower pops on there, and it hopefully is pollinated. That's typically what will happen. We've got lots of bees around here. They're not quite active this morning, but I can show you a few more here where there's bundles of flowers that are in different stages. So you can see here, if I get a zoom in here, the flower on this one is already, we've got several that are flowering, but down here you can actually see the berry that's starting to come out. And several of them are in different stages. So what happens is this blossom falls off or starts to kind of brown like you see there. And then the berry pushes through from the middle, and that's what you get. And then there's one that hasn't even started to open yet. So you'll get these, they'll all come off within usually a couple of weeks of each other. You see some of our honeybees there. Just tried to get a shot of one working their magic starting early this morning. But they'll all come off pretty quickly. If you look through here, you'll see all of these berries. Now, don't be concerned if you have a few that fall off early. Sometimes the bushes can't support everything that's there. So you will have some berry fall off. If you fertilize properly and use the right types of things, then you won't have too much of that. So when you get these in the ground, your first year is probably going to be the worst, especially if you buy from a home improvement center or something like that, where you're going to get your berries. A lot of times they've been under a lot of stress. They may need a year or two to kind of get themselves situated. These are actually third year plants. They've been doing well for us for 2 years now. And I want to just show you, like, this one is absolutely loaded with berries. This one, not as much, and I'll come back to that in a second. But then this one, you can see from top to bottom, absolutely loaded with berries. Now we're going to have to start covering these here in probably another couple of weeks. Green, nobody's really caring about them. No, we don't have any bird problems while they're green like this. Much like us, birds don't want them while they're green. But when these start getting a little bit closer to turning, we're definitely gonna have to cover these up. We'll do a bird netting. We'll probably do a video on that as well. But this is absolutely something that we will have to protect, because otherwise they'll be picked clean from the birds. So let me do a real quick, I told you a minute ago that I would do a quick example of what a first year cane looks like compared to a second year, compared to a third year cane. Raspberries are, and blackberries to a degree as well, but raspberries are a plant that is very cyclical in nature. When you're looking at these canes, the first year you'll have shoots that come up, and I'll show you one here in just a second. But they'll have shoots that come up, but they won't produce any, these won't produce any berries, they won't produce any flowers. The second year canes, those are the ones that you're gonna get right here. These second year canes, those are the ones that produce all the berries. And then your third year canes typically will die off, and you'll have to prune those back, and I'll show you in a second. So let's do an example of a first year cane that's easy to see in comparison. Let's see, here's one. This is a first year cane, and these are thornless raspberries, so I can run down and you can see that the stem here is very smooth. This is the kind I'd recommend. I'll show you some black raspberries in a second that are wild, that we just happen to have on our property, and that is not nearly as smooth. Now, if you notice, this first year cane, there's absolutely no flowers, no berries, no nothing, and it's mixed in with another cane here that's got some on it, so you can see. But this cane is completely bare. That's okay because it shot up right outside. So they'll propagate by shooting up other canes around the plant, which is how sometimes you'll get some that, like this one, this is also a first year cane. And I've got to hand pull this grass around here. I did the weed eating, but I didn't want to hit this stalk. You'll get some of these fine hairs on some of these, depending on the variety, but this is a first year cane, and it just shot up outside here. It ran a runner underground, and then the cane popped up. Those are first year canes. You'll see them mixed in. Like here's a first year cane. Here's a first year cane that has nothing on it as well. The second year canes, that's where you're going to get into your berries. These are all second year canes. And you can see they're full of berries. They have tons of flowers. These second year canes are always the ones that are going to produce for you. You're not going to have berries on any of the first years. You're rarely, if ever, going to have any on your third years. It's always going to be the second year cane. And now I'm going to show you an example, if I can find one, of a third year cane. Here we go. This is one that I missed pruning. This is a third year cane. And you can see all the way down to the bottom, there's nothing on it. Most of them will die off in the winter. The best time to prune them is when you're getting ready for spring. Come in, I just happened to miss that one. So I'll come back and knock it off here when I do a next round of pruning. That's kind of how the raspberries work. You'll get them mixed in, and raspberries will continue to produce. I know some people say, oh, they're only good for 4 or 5 years. I've not found that to be the case. Depending on the variety that you get, you can have, and you'll need good pollinators. So we can see one of our honeybees, not ours, I wish we had a hive, but one of the honeybees from the local wild hives is out here doing its pollination. It's early, so he's just getting started. But you'll want to prune off the canes in the early spring, late winter, February, March time frame. Probably February is a good time to do it. Get rid of them. That will make the plant focus on the new canes and then the berries. A lot of phosphorus for these plants as well. They like a lot of phosphorus in their in the stuff that you use for them. So make sure you put, when you're doing your fertilizing in the spring, make sure you do a lot of phosphorus. Now we've got a few blueberries in here. These guys have struggled. They're just this year have produced a few flowers. So maybe next year. These are actually a kind that we got. They're called lemonade blueberries. So we'll see how those work. But this is a blackberry bush. You'll see this is a second year cane as well. You can see a very distinct difference between the berries that are on a blackberry bush. You'll see these look completely different. The flowers, if you're ever trying to identify, the flowers look completely different on a blackberry bush. The bushes look somewhat similar themselves, but the canes are much, I'll call meatier canes. They're a lot bigger around. Typically, this one's as big around as probably your index finger. So for your first year canes, typically they won't produce very much. So this is a first year cane. You can see here, this cane doesn't have a lot on it. It does have a couple, I think, just at the very bottom down here, but generally speaking, it doesn't have much on it. This is another first year cane. It has nothing on it. They get really tall a lot of times in this first year. But these first year canes don't have anything, but the second year canes, that's where they produce. Sometimes you'll get a third year cane in blackberries, at least that's been my experience, that will produce far more so than the raspberries, but not typically. So this is one that we've got that's just, you know, going crazy, and the kids used to play here, and this thing's overgrown quite a bit. So these are blackberries. The berries look completely different, but the formation is still the same. These berries come up just like on the flowers, just like they did on the raspberries, but they look very, very different. They're more oblong, a lot bigger in the shape, and obviously they'll start turning black. These raspberries are a bit smaller. They're closer to the flower, I'll call it. They're more compact. The other thing that you'll notice that as these ripen, when they pull off the stem, these will pull out and leave a hole inside. The blackberries, on the other hand, they break off, and you kind of have the stem that breaks off flush with the back of the berry. These actually leave a hole, that telltale sign of a raspberry. So these are red raspberries. We've got blackberries on the other side of these as well, and then more raspberries. So you've got a whole group here. You can see on our other side, these are second year plants. So first year canes right there, as I mentioned earlier, they're producing like crazy. So we're gonna have lots and lots and lots of raspberries. I think this will be our best year yet since we planted them. So very excited because everybody in the family likes raspberries. I wanted to draw a little comparison. So this is, and I'll back up here because it's absolutely crazy. This enormous bush of black raspberries, these all started from some mulch that we bought, and it was a random berry or seed that was caught up in the mulch, probably when they were cutting down trees or whatever. It got mixed in. I don't know how it came here. We didn't plant it, but pretty awesome that we got it. It was a bonus deal with the mulch. You can see that same exact scenario, even though these are black raspberries, and I know that they're black raspberries because last year we thought they might have been raspberries. Maybe something flew over and dropped a berry and somehow it germinated, but that's not it. These are actually black raspberries. They turn black. That's when they're ripe. They still look just like a raspberry, but if you try to eat it when it's red, it will absolutely taste horrible. They've got to turn black in order for them to be ripe, but I will show you some differences. So while the leaves look very, very similar, one of the things you can always check for is on the back of raspberry bushes, whether they're red or black, is this white, this white colored leaf. That's one of the telltale signs of a raspberry bush. If you're trying to identify something, again, consult a professional. Please don't go out in the woods and start eating stuff and say, he told me this must be a raspberry bush. But that is a telltale sign if you get a plata identifier. One of the things, it's got these three, it kind of has this I'll call it razor edge look to it. It's a triangle shape with these two outside edges here and here. You kind of see that telltale sign. So it's a triangle with these two little parts that poke out. It's a very clear sign of a raspberry. And then that bottom side being that white color is another telltale sign. But the berries are also very distinctive. These are the black raspberries. Now I'm going to show you something. Same kind of scenario. So this is a second-year cane. So it's producing. You can see all kinds of black raspberries we're going to have here. We're going to have to cover it up. But in the back here, you can see some canes that are first-year canes. They are producing nothing, and they're very smooth in comparison. Here's another first-year cane. You can see that it doesn't have anything on it as well. Those are kind of the differences. This bush has taken over this particular space. This is another first-year cane. Black raspberries, especially wild black raspberries, what these are, you can actually see they have thorns. You can see those thorns right there, and they will get you. They're not pretend thorns. They are a real thing. They're the real thing. So they'll poke you, especially when these start getting a little bit more established. So make sure you wear long sleeves whenever you go in to pick wild raspberries. But fantastic that we got this little bonus. So I thought I'd just share that with you today so you could see a little bit of the difference, raspberries versus black raspberries versus blackberries. Hope that helps. If you're interested, please subscribe to our channel. We're doing all kinds of homesteading videos all the time. So please, we'd love to have you subscribe.